Welcome. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni, the founder of Transformative Harmonics, a podcast that offers listeners a synthesis of ancient wisdom and modern science. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Transformative Harmonics. I'm Paula Scatoloni, your host. Today, my guest is Suzanne Alexandria. Suzanne and I met during a time where I was in another level of my own exploration of the Akashic records. You may have heard of this. People are finding all sorts of pathways into expanding their intuition, and her course was one of the pathways that I and many therapists at the time were exploring. Suzanne brings us a wealth of information about her experience in the Akashic, her own journey of healing her own health, and how her awakening started. She is also a faculty in our school who's here to help those who are interested in expanding their intuition, connecting to their guides, and working within the records. So I am pleased to share Suzanne's episode today. She will also demonstrate something that is also probably happening around you. You've been noticing that people are starting to channel, opening up their pathways of being able to connect to their soul and who they are. And what happens with that is there might be some voice frequency that starts to come through them. Suzanne demonstrates what this looks like as she channels in a session. This is also something I've been exploring. What does it mean to speak from your soul? And what are the healing frequencies that can come through our voice when we are able to connect to ourselves at the soul level, at that dimension? So I hope you enjoy this episode. Certainly, if our programming and our community is something that you are feeling drawn to, I'm putting in a special coupon code now that will help you engage in our program a little bit more easily. You can find that in the show notes, and it gives you easier access to our membership portal if you're interested in coming on board in June as we broaden and launch that to our larger community. Now for the show. Welcome, guests, to another episode of Transformative Harmonics. I'm your host, Paula Scatoloni. Before we start this chat interview today, I'd like to take a moment, as usual, to invite you to slow down. If you're driving, simply look around and be aware of your surroundings. Feel your hands holding the steering wheel. Bring yourself into more embodiment. If you're at home, you might have a drink. You might be sitting outside. This is an invitation to slow down, to create space inside, so that whatever we say with our words, with our voice, with the content, has a place to land. So just give yourself a moment to take a few breaths. We'll do that with you as we arrive together. And we enter into a conversation with Suzanne Alexandria, who's my beautiful guest today and soul sister I've met along the path of my own journey. And so we're going to hear a little about her story today and some of the work that she does, ironically, with many, many wellness providers and therapists, which is how I came across her work. And Suzanne is also a new faculty member in our academy. So I thought it would be a great way to introduce some of the whys behind the academy, what we're doing, and the whole bigger picture of what's unfolding in the world and how to help you make sense of this. Because I know there's a lot happening. Some of it is very obvious and some, it needs a little explanation. So that's what we're here to do. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Paula. Hi, everybody. It's so beautiful to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Well, let's start before we get into the what do you do. I always think it's nice to hear a little about your story because everyone has such a unique story of how they woke up, right? And some is very mystical, some is very physical, which is part of your story. And so I wanted to create some space for that so folks can also hear the variation, right, that happens when we awaken.
Yeah. I always like to say, you're not alone if you feel like it's very slow. Mine was a slow boat, really, of awakening into what is part of the other reality here on this planet. suffice it to say, it was very laden with a lot of trauma and pain and hardship. And I don't think I'm unique in that. But I was working in Washington, D.C. I lived there. I was in corporate America world, really happily so, for a long time, raising my kids in Alexandria, Virginia. And some things happened that started me on a quest. And so I think it's kind of common. Like, I found yoga first, and yoga helped me start to go internal inside. Though interestingly, 10 years before that, like back in 2003, when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I actually got attuned to Reiki, and that was early. And I didn't know anything about spirituality, but I knew I needed Reiki. And I always laugh about that because it was in the middle, like I said, of DC, the suburbs, and nobody knew what I was talking about. And there wasn't anyone to practice with or anything. So it just lay dormant for about at least a good 12 years till I began teaching Reiki. but something in me, even though I could barely perceive it when I received it from a massage therapist, I just knew, oh, I need that. I had this deep knowing. And that's something that we could touch on today, is like how we're opening to our deeper knowings and how important it is to listen to those. But suffice it to say, life happened. Divorce and separation from my husband happened in a circuitous route. And all the while, what drove me to seek was anxiety, actually. I constantly had anxiety. And that was from trauma, but it was also from not being wholly like integrated in myself, embodied, fully embodied. I was disassociated. I didn't know my spirit. I didn't even know we had souls. I did not really cognitively know any of this. And then later, as I got into the Akashic Records realm, I realized, wow, as a child, I really worked with angels, and they helped me immensely. And I started to remember memories, but I didn't have a clue. So trying to find the cause of my pain, especially anxiety, but then cancer. Then I was diagnosed with cancer in 2013 for the first time. And so that was basically, that was my big wake up call. And starting to say, why on earth did this happen to me? Surely there's something inside of me kept saying, surely there's more that I'm not seeing, that I'm not knowing. And I don't think that, you and I know, Paula, that's common, where we've got these things that drive us to keep seeking the answers. Otherwise I wouldn't have. I would have just been complacent in my life. So I'm still seeking the true answers to healing, especially cancer. And even now in 2026, new information is coming through that's really quite promising, I have to say. And I'll also say astonishing. So it's a journey. I think it's a journey for all of us who want to know our deeper selves and want to understand really how things work. There's a different story for all of us. And mine has been fraught with a lot of physical drivers because of physical pain. I will say that.
Mm-hmm. And life or death, really.
And,
yeah.
Facing death big time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was part of the catalyst to keep going. And so it led you into new realms. It led you into new realms, which was eventually, how far along did things go before you ended up starting to work with the records?
So that was luckily kind of early. So I was first diagnosed in 2013, and then I moved back here to Denver with my family. And it was 2016, 2017 where I got introduced to the records. And then it started to really take off where I started to teach what I've been learning with energy, with Reiki and with the records. And then it was interesting for me because I had training back then, but then the way I do it now and the way I train just started to come through to me. And I was like, oh, this is my way. Okay.
This is very, yeah.
And you know how that is.
Yes. And which is how we met. We met through your class in the Akashic records. And so let's share a little bit about what the records are and what it is that you do as you started to feel into. It sounds like you shifted out of corporate then.
I did. Yes.
Okay.
And it wasn't even necessarily my choice. I just could not really get a job. It was the universe.
It's the universe saying, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
Go this way.
And that's part of what can happen, right?
Yeah. That's not uncommon. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your health and you have not the corporate world. So what happened then?
So I started doing energy work, working in a beautiful office of a chiropractor. That was probably 2017, 2018. And then I had a session. Then I started teaching the records. And I had a session one Sunday afternoon with somebody who channeled my guides. And they very distinctly said, train therapists. They really said that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because therapists in particular already, first of all, you all are intuitive and you're healers innately. Therapists have such a healing nature and soul, and also already have a business, and already have clientele and are already used to being in the presence, of their clients in a way. So it's not it doesn't take very long to incorporate figuring out how to use your psychic skills kind of behind the scenes even, and really advance how you can help people. So it turned out to be the most brilliant guidance of, one of the best messages I ever got because it helped give me a framework for how I can help more, how I could serve even in a greater capacity, because the world, I believe the world is going to be so much better served the more leaders. Now, I mean not just therapists, but I also train leaders in corporate business because that's where I come from. I train many, just about any type of person who really is guided to it. But I just believe that the world will be better when we're guided by something higher and by such a respected and holy place of truth. That's why I do it, actually, because it's working within the Akashic records is a way to receive information from such a revered place. And isn't that what the world needs these days? In a place, when we're not really sure where to turn or who to listen to or who to trust, at least in the media.
Yes. The timing for it is so important. Well, let's just to back up for my listeners who might not know what the records are, if you were talking to folks that didn't know, and hear a little about that. And then we can talk about, what it entails.
Yeah. So one's Akashic records are your history of your soul. And everybody has a soul, and every soul has a deep history. And interestingly enough, there's a way energetically that it's tracked. Just, it's not a far leap if you can think about how right now, any of you listeners could think back on hundreds or thousands of memories of your life that have happened. Those, frankly, are part of your records. It's part of your history. But it goes beyond into other lifetimes as well, other incarnations, because we're all these eternal souls that have had many, many, many lifetimes. And so the Akashic records are a tracking of that. And in one sense, one way I like to say it is like if you know how to use a Word document and track the changes, you can go back to the history of like the version a few days ago or a year ago and see what was written at that time and see what changed since then. It's literally kind of like that, but it's stored in what's called your book of life. And that the book of life is referenced in a lot of sacred teachings. It's referenced. There are small references to the records in various ways in actually the Bible, but in a number of other sacred ancient, right?
And in the past, my understanding is there was a select few who had access to the records, like Edgar Cayce and mystics, right? But now, with the changing times, it is available for many.
It's available. It's available if you want it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I think because our psychic giftings are meant to be used, and there's this movement of opening to those, the subtle energies, the whatever, however you want to call it. Humanity has been opening to these abilities. So yes, theoretically, anybody can access your records. If you have the calling, it's meant for you, is what I say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tool. It's a tool for it's a tool to help answer life's questions. We could go into that more, but to help you get answers and guidance from a very high place.
Mm-hmm. And it's very different than psychic. It's definitely more for me about perspective.
Yes.
And less about, do I do this or do I do that? And so would you think of it as a frequency that allows you to have a broader perspective on choices that you might make?
Yes. Yes, that would be appropriate to say.
Mm-hmm.
And, elevating your frequency to be in communication with the data that's in the records.
Mm-hmm. Like an iCloud. You're tapping into the iCloud.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
but
so
you're also tapping into these very loving guides who help you parcel through it. So one of the ways I like to describe it is that there are librarians of these records, so when you have a question about who you are, where you've been, or what might you do next, any kind of like soul purpose question, they know all the players. Like these librarians can tap into all the players. So if you're talking about questions with family members or loved ones or other people, they have this literal spirit's eye perspective on the records of everybody. And the way it's been shown to me, they do calculations. They can help with calculations based on everything that they can see, like they're in the cloud. And then they can help with perspective, like you said, like they can give this perspective based on, well, this is the probability for this person in your life to do this or that, or this is the probability for you to be able to make a change. They've got this incredible way of showing probability. They never will tell you outright what to do because that's all for us to decide based on the data. But it's such a loving, very loving, high place to get perspective rather than us down here trying to guess,
Yeah, figure it out with our mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a way to use the heart and the soul for guidance.
Exactly.
In life. And so it's empowering for people to have this as a tool for themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
And then how would a therapist use it in those that you've trained and worked with?
So therapists can, one of the classic ways that the records have been used is to ask about a specific person in your life. I mean, first of all, you can do this with yourself, first and foremost. But in a therapy setting or just in life, you can ask about another person and ask questions and it's always going to be loving. You're always only going to get what is appropriate for the setting. Like, it's not an invasion. It's only going to be in the context of, well, you really want help and you want to help that person. So it's like a very holy way of receiving the information. I always like to say that. But in a therapy setting or any kind of coach or wellness provider, frankly, we can expand it to so many of your audience. You can ask well, okay, so I have this client named X and they've got an issue and they've commissioned me as their practitioner to help them. What can I know about their condition? What can I know about their background? What can I know about their soul's path so that I can assist them? So a lot of it happens behind the scenes, just in the practitioner asking those kind of questions and making notes, which is a really powerful thing to be able to do. Very powerful. To help your client, all in the interest of, that could really expand her growth or her healing path, because spirit will give you whatever is appropriate. So that's the base. That's what the basic way. What tends to happen with therapists who grow and evolve is that they start to be able to communicate with the person directly and have clientele that are open to doing a session that is Akashic records in addition to their therapy work. So a lot of them branch into actually doing what I just said, but in person with the client, if that makes sense. So it can be behind the scenes or it can be live. And some of them just even start to offer two kinds of sessions. Let's do therapy, traditional, but maybe we'll do an Akashic records reading once a month or something like that.
Yeah, beautiful.
It really can expand the way, the path of the progress of the therapy itself.
Yeah. Well, and there's a third option of the path I took too, which is healing within the Akashic. So those that want to move into, because that's a frequency, it's a healing frequency. Yes. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that's not so classically, to me, that's how it works with me and those I train. I guess I'll just distinguish sometimes people simply read what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, because we're able to change the energy, transmute energy from trauma within that setting, make choices within the setting that speeds along the path of what, the person's recovery from whatever it is, if it's trauma or if it's personal pain or what have you. So shifting energy in there is really, really powerful. And that's frankly why it speeds up the healing process or the transformation or the awakening processes.
It's a very calming and nourishing frequency too, if you've ever been in it. Extremely calming.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So loving. It's pure love.
It's pure love. Yeah. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Hello. This is Paula Scatoloni. Thank you for listening to the Transformative Harmonics Podcast. If this conversation has been interesting, to you. I invite you to look at our new Transformative Harmonics Academy. I was inspired to create this membership and academy to bring together not only the transformative power of sound, but also a growing global community of faculty and teachers who are coming together to support you on your journey. So together, you will come and meet myself, others who are interested in spiritual growth, embodiment, soulful connection, opening their gifts, and we will gather weekly to explore, embody, and find our signature frequency. If this is interesting to you, feel free to check out the website or make a discovery call with me at paulascatoloni.com. And now back to the podcast. So there's so many ways that this can enhance a provider's toolbox beyond what they may be doing. Even if they're using holistic methods, it's like an upgrade or another advanced level of holistic methods that really allow you to tap into the highest, framework of communication, because it's soul to soul communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Soul to soul with spirit, with high level guides. And what I like to say, and what was really emphasized recently in a channeling that I did, is that there's rules, there's bumpers, like in a bowling alley. And so you're protected in a way. You're in a place where your ego is set aside, and in a way that makes it the easiest possible way to receive, without doubting, without judgment, without those kinds of egoic thoughts that might creep in. Now, sometimes we have to exercise a little restraint to learn how to do that. And that's what practice comes from. But the reason I teach it is because it provides parameters for the highest guidance.
Mm-hmm. Making sure it's filtered. You're not filtering it through your own. Exactly.
And there's not interference of anything that's not the highest. Because you call on that. And that's really important these days.
It is. And I also feel it provides so much of the larger invitation right now is to understand ourselves as frequency and to upgrade our frequency. And this is such a beautiful method that supports that. And you can feel it physically. You can feel when you open up the records, the frequency of being in the records as opposed to not. I mean, it's a very tangible shift somatically.
Yes, it really, really, really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going into the ethers of love. I will also say again and again, it's like pure, loving, devotional, kind of like God frequency.
The God frequency.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is. It's like, it's known as there are different terms for what it really is, but it's like the record of all times from, God's perspective. That's so powerful.
It is. It's very, very, very much a reverence, a space of reverence. So you've set up a training and providers of all kinds and non-providers come.
Yes.
And they hone their skills in this and experience to become more competent in delivery.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the things that I do that's unique, Paula, that we could share too, are that I do these powerful activations of the giftings, of the skills. I like to call them skills, not gifts, because we just innately have these skills. So call them attunements or activations. They energetically change your psychic pathway basically, and open it and help you get wired to be able to do this with the greatest of ease. And that's something that's what really came only when I started to practice. I wasn't trained in that. But I started to teach, and then these activations started to come through me in channeling. And I thought, oh, okay. I'm not saying I'm the only one that does that, but it is somewhat unique how those happen. Yeah. And they definitely expedite the abilities and the clear senses to turn on and get coherent within one's body.
Yeah. Well, I think of it as with the Reiki master, that you're getting attuned, right, to that frequency. And this is attunement to the Akashic frequency. So it makes sense. Yeah.
It's also sense. Like connecting, because your psychic senses run through your pineal gland and your different glands in the body and the chakra system. So it's adjusts all of that to open you to spiritual guidance, spiritual energy, perceptions.
Yes.
It's very powerful.
That is a big piece of the collective shift that's happening.
It is.
We're moving into being more multidimensional beings. Yeah. And so people are going to see that on websites, on YouTube, on Facebook. Why is everyone suddenly have these capacities?
Yes. It's that, right? It's exactly that. We're opening our chakra system. We're opening our pineal gland in the center of our brains and our third eye. It's getting, whether you know it or not, lots of people are getting that open. The collective is opening. And it's really phenomenal. And again, I say hallelujah, because I really believe that a world led by people who can tap into their intuition in a high, from a place of the highest seeking of truth and what's good for the whole, what's good for the collective, what's good for we instead of just me, but the usness. I think that's so much of what this world needs. And our leaders, and I mean leaders like you and me, I mean like leaders in business, leaders and teachers, therapists, all of us who are at the forefront of a new consciousness. This is what is happening.
Mm-hmm. And what's needed, these pathways that have been dormant for thousands of years.
But how the Creator designed us. They're just dormant. That's the key.
They're just dormant.
Like we need to just make that like they're in everybody who's listening. They're just asleep, and if you don't know about it and focus on it, it just lays there like a muscle you don't use.
I was going to say, so we're walking around either with half of our computer not. It's like the installation's there, but the switches haven't been flipped on to use the whole computer in a way that
there's a whole chip over here that I didn't know. I got to plug that in. It's exactly like that. We are exactly like that.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed an interesting phenomenon is the more that people clear their trauma and embodied, the more that these gifts naturally open up, without people even having to try, right? They suddenly have telepathy. They're thinking about someone, and the person calls them on the phone. Or, they have an insight about a client, or client's grandmother shows up in the room and they can see the person. All kinds of things are happening right now.
And I think it's really important to say that, like, everybody who's listening, you've had just like what you just said. Everyone has had experiences about like what we're talking about, but you might not have realized, that did come from my Akashic records, actually. Like your soul has fed you information your whole life in different ways, for instance. So it's not new to anybody, but maybe the awareness is new. But yeah.
The awareness and I think normalizing this as a part of the human experience.
Yes, I know. It's so exciting to mainstream it.
It is. I'm having a good time.
Then to be.
I'm having a good time with it. And people like you coming in to share all the things that you're going to share as a faculty. Let's dive in a little bit. So not only will you come in and speak about the records with those that are in the membership, but you're also going to talk about something I call it the language of light codes, light language. Those are a little bit different for me as I'm learning about it, but that's another skill set you're going to bring into the membership as well.
Yes. So you want me to talk about that?
Maybe, yeah. Let's give them a little taste of that as well.
Yeah. So light language, what I like to say is that we're speaking English right now, but behind that, I'm pretty sure is light language. It's like my brain and my soul are thinking in a very high way. So we translate all the time spiritual intuition into our vernacular, into our everyday. But there is a way to allow pure light language, which is the language of your soul, of the language of spirit, the language of the angels, through our system. So it's becoming what I love is that when you let and you're a classic with this, you have so much coming through now, Paula. When you let it flow, it's literally opening you to spirit. It's opening you to energy. It's opening you to, again, this high plane of truth that you are, like your higher self chakra, your soul, the way I understand it to work. I mean, all of this works through the chakra system and through your energy body to come out into how we are, whether it's English or light language. So it's exciting that it's turning on so much because it feels so good. It's such a high vibration. It's like home it feels like home. And because it's from wherever we are from in the cosmos, where our soul is. So yeah, we could do a little bit if you like.
Yeah, let's do some. I know for myself, there's this distinction, and I'm learning. Actually, met a person who translates like many of them and can tell the dialect difference. So it's fascinating. It's like my whole world has opened up. It is like being bilingual because I'm not bilingual in my current way of knowing myself, but as this opened up, realizing, oh, I'm bilingual. So it's fascinating. And there's people, if you're interested in sound healing, the tones come through and they actually are able to, just like sound when we use acoustics and different technology, that this is a technology. It's just coming through the person's voice. And so it opens up to me to the idea of the medicine of sound coming through these codes.
Yeah, exactly. Sound and frequency and high vibrational frequency. Yeah. And over time, like we've talked about, over time, you can learn to translate what's coming through. In my experience, most people start, you don't really know what it's saying. And it took me quite a while to have it start translating into English. But it's really, really, really fascinating. It's just another way to channel. It's just another way to channel, and it's sound, and it's your soul.
Beautiful. Well, let's give the listeners a taste of it.
Okay. All right. So here we go. If you listen to your heart, you will feel and hear the impulses, the soft and steady impulses that call to you always. And And this is what light language helps you to do. It helps you to feel into the rhythm of your soul. And it helps you connect your mind, body, spirit in a way that might not otherwise be accessible. These are the mothers who love you. There's a group called the Mothers that I channel, that I work with a lot. So that it's the Council of Mothers that's coming through in light language, and they want to show all of this. We mostly really want to implore you to let your heart open. The more you let your heart space open to the frequencies of love, to receive love from the universe, to receive love from loved ones and your own higher self and self, and to send love to others, to send love out into the universe is a very mighty and powerful thing to do at this time. We are mothers. We're a gathering of mothers who love you all so much. And you can always turn to us if you'd like. Just call on us. Because the mother love is pouring through this earth in a very powerful way. And to tune into it is very, very, very helpful for you all at this time. To the health of your soul, mind, body connection. We love you. Amen. Wow, there we go.
I'm so glad they came.
Yes, they are coming. Yeah. When I see the mothers, there are, could never count them. There are thousands or more. And I think it might be fun for people to know. I mean, it's mothers that are ancestors, like our mothers who are grandmothers, but also these ascended master mothers, like Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, many others. And they want to be known because the mother energy is really here to help us so much right now.
Yeah, it's here. Its time has come.
Yeah.
So I'm sure many of the listeners are experienced. Some, this may be new to, but others may have experiences. I know I meet listeners and clients who've they're having connections with the different ascended masters of the feminine in different ways, right? But they're not understanding why. Why did Tara suddenly show up? Why did Kali suddenly show up? And so I think we can make a blanket statement of that is part of what the collective awakening is the return of the force of the mother.
Yes.
And the archetype of the mother across all time and space.
Mother God, Mother Goddess. Yes.
Yeah. That it's
got really big goosebumps. It is true. It's time for her to be known again because we forgot it was taken or whatever happened.
Yeah. The shift. Well, there's a great podcast out there, which was with Heather Ensworth, I think, of talking about getting sidetracked with patriarchy and now kind of getting back on track again. And so you're going to see this in different places. And the beautiful thing about the Academy and what we're doing as a collective, Suzanne, is we're bringing everything together here. We're bringing the history, the scholarly history around the loss of the feminine. We're bringing the practical tools to how do you embody it? How do you bring this into your life? And how do you clear the trauma in your body so you can create the space for this and heal those wounds? And then as your gifts open, how do you use them? So it's really a one-stop shop that's going to have these powerful healers and guides like yourself that are here to guide and support those that are saying yes to the journey.
Yeah, it's really, really, really exciting because it's time. It's such a beautiful offering you have, Paula, that does bring together the different aspects because what you're offering gives the knowledge, but also it's going to be also experiential, which is really the combination of that's really, really important and powerful.
Yeah. The experience is the remembering.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And the experience, I think that all the faculty in you allow, it makes it so real and tangible and believable. And so it's just really a credit to, I just commend you for how you're pulling it all together.
Well, it's felt somewhat effortless that everyone who, my journey's been about 7 years. So when I looked back on all the people that supported me, it was just such a natural, like, oh, these are the teachers in the academy. So it was very clear.
That was beautiful.
So I appreciate you and what you're doing let's learn a little bit about what you do so people know where to find you. And then of course at the academy will be another place as well.
So you can find me at SuzanneAlexandria.com. Also on YouTube, I've got a lot of transmissions there that you could learn, you could get involved in my channeling and see if you like it. But I've got 3 main offerings. So I train in the Akashic records ongoing. So that's my big offering. I also have Thursday calls with Spirit where I channel and do activations of kind of like what I just did. I mean, so in a way. And then I also have healing circles on Wednesday evenings for anyone going through emotional or physical healing. So there are a number of ways to be involved and receive. And in the healing circles, that's relatively new this year. It's new, and I am channeling, and we are being shown new ways. Let's call it a new gateway to how to actually heal cells in the body with energy that, we've known about. We know Reiki, we know energy healing, but there's something new happening that's coming together into cohesion. And the high angels come in for that, for body work, literally. So I'm excited about that, especially with my own healing journey, because it's still unfolding big time.
Well, certainly if you're a listener and you have something happening and it's physical, check this out. I saw someone in a different community, same kind of concept, and there was people reporting after that, lifetimes of back pain and all sorts of things were healing. So check it out, and it's available.
It's all just energy. It's all just frequency. And so we're learning, even with, harmonics, like how does sound, how does light language, how does Reiki, how does all of it shift energy literally from low vibration to high vibration? And what does that do in the cells? It's going to be mind-boggling at some point. I don't know when, but it's already begun.
Yeah, I think we're on the cusp, or it's begun of sound as medicine, frequency as medicine, should I say? Frequency as medicine.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That's a beautiful way to end. It has been a pleasure to share.
It really has been. Thanks.
These pieces and to open up to the listeners. I think each episode I bring another piece so that they can really feel the depth of what we're holding here and offering them. And if you're on a path of saying yes to awakening, this is a great place to settle in with some folks that know where you're going and know how to help you get there.
Exactly. We've been there.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you, Suzanne.
And thanks, everyone. Good luck on your journeys. It's quite a winding journey, but we would love to see you in the academy.
Thank you for being a part of the Transformative Harmonics Podcast. If this discussion resonated with you, please subscribe, share the episode, or write a review. This helps to support the expanding community around embodiment, sound, and conscious living. You can visit Transformative Harmonics at paulascatoloni.com to find out more about my work, forthcoming classes, and the Transformative Harmonics Academy. You can also reach out and connect with me on Instagram. My handle is at Paula Scatoloni. I write regularly on Substack at Signature Frequency Living. Until next time, take good care, and thank you for being part